There's a story that came out overnight by ESPN, and it has a lot to do with the dysfunction of the Philadelphia Eagles last year. And this, in particular, circles Nick Sirianni, the head coach, and quarterback Jalen Hurts, and former offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. Apparently, Jalen Hurts was going rogue sometimes, and the game they point out was mid-December, Monday Night Football. The Eagles down 20-17, 13 seconds to go with the ball near midfield, and they needed an intermediate gain to get in field goal range. Instead, Jalen Hurts attempted a downfield throw to A.J. Brown that was picked off, and Sirianni took the heat, which only intensified when he said part of the thinking was that they were hoping to draw a pass interference call, a bizarre explanation that drew even more criticism. But it proved to be a cover. He was covering for Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Brown revealed that he and Hurts improvised and went on our own, quote, on the play. But sources with knowledge of the situation say it didn't happen all the time. It was a prime example of Jalen Hurts deviating from the script. Now, they do point out that maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't give Nick Sirianni enough credit. Maybe doesn't have respect for his head coach. And they were a mess at the end of last year. Remember when they started out? They were great. Looked like, hey, Super Bowl, here we come again. And then they all fell apart. And we wondered if Nick Sirianni was going to keep his job this offseason. You get rid of some of your coordinators or they leave, and now all of a sudden you're still there with Jalen Hurts. But it's a mess. Because that's a lot of talent on that team. And all of a sudden, you're going rogue at the line of scrimmage. All you have to do is get in field goal range, tie the game. And then you decide. Now, I think the code word for this, some teams use this, you go gangster, and that means you're going to go rogue. You're going to decide to do something. 13 seconds to go, get in field goal range, and then you decide to go for a home run. Nick Sirianni says, we thought we were going to get maybe a pass interference call. That's not what you want in that situation. He was trying to cover for Jalen Hurts, and now all of a sudden, the cracks that were there have become a little bit larger with the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Paul.
Doesn't this feel like one of those stories where if the Eagles had won a lot to end the season, it'd be like, look at these guys. He trusts his quarterback to let him freelance. The results make the story sound so much worse.
Well, they were 10-1 to start the season, and then 1-6 down the stretch. Staff changes. A lot of questions, dysfunctional. I mean, this is a mess right now. Now, maybe they've righted the ship here, but Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat. They brought in Kellen Moore, and he's now the offensive coordinator, but maybe that can be a buffer between head coach and quarterback, and Kellen Moore can get them back to where they were. I mean, you got Saquon Barkley, you still have a good offensive line. You got good receivers as well. Still have a respectable defense. I mean, they should be one of the top three teams in the NFC. They certainly were to start the season. Down the stretch, you go 1-6 with that talent. I was shocked that Nick Sirianni kept his job. He will not keep his job if they have anywhere near the kind of season they had last year. Yes, Marv.
In the NFC, the 49ers, Eagles, and Lions, are those the only three teams in that conference that are Super Bowl or bust?
Super Bowl. Well, the Cowboys are always Super Bowl or bust. But I don't know, like, what does bust mean? That if you don't get there, then you had
like it's a failure. That season's a failure.
Oh, okay. Well, then that doesn't apply to the Cowboys. Because it just feels like as long as you're talking about the Cowboys, it's a successful season. And people have been talking about them and continue to talk about them. I would say the Niners definitely. If you don't get to the Super Bowl, that's a disappointment. I think the Lions, they were a great story last year. Are they still a great team? Are they a great team? Let me put it that way. Is Green Bay Super Bowl or bust? Which I don't think they are, but if they don't get to maybe the conference title game, Green Bay fans may say that's a disappointment here, considering how they ended up last year. I would say Detroit and San Francisco, you should get to the NFC title game. Definitely. For the Niners, you better get to the Super Bowl. Or And, it depends on what happens with Brandon Ayuk. Does that affect Brock Purdy's contract with whatever they do or don't do this year? But I would say those two, definitely in the NFC. Man, there are high expectations for Green Bay. It feels like they're just a little too lofty. They were a great story, and it was almost one of those, wow, Green Bay is coming on strong. But now everybody knows Jordan Love got paid. Green Bay, they're not an underdog. Yes, Heaton.
I feel like Jalen Hurts this year is going to have a monster year. MVP caliber.
I don't know if he's going to put up MVP numbers. See, I need him to manage a game, call a game, be a quarterback, not just a couple of singular great plays. I think that's what they missed last year in the last 2 months of the season. Yeah. Well, that would certainly help out his relationship, I guess, with his head coach. And Kellen Moore would probably get a lot of credit there. Yes.
Because some of this story is so odd to me, because it's like, if you're reading through it and you're like, he wanted to throw more sort of like intermediate passes over the middle, and Sirianni wouldn't do that. He had more like of a vertical passing, which feels like the opposite. The quarterback might be like, nah, man, let's just hit a home run here.
Well, in that instance, on that game against Seattle, it was an intermediate throw to get into field goal range. That, I don't know, the play calling for the entire year. I do know with those receivers and that tight end, I would think that I would be able to take some shots downfield. But it does feel like they're going to be waiting, blood in the water with this Philadelphia media when it comes to the Eagles. Like, lost back-to-back games, or we're going to be studying body language here. We're going to be watching on the sidelines. And I think that they've opened the door for this in Philadelphia.
It feels like hitting A.J. Brown over the middle more often is a winning formula. I'm not a football expert, but I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
If the quarterback and the wide receiver are on the same page and we're hitting that dude, I don't know. Maybe that wins.
Paulie's right, though. This is what we do in the media. So we can spin this. If Philadelphia is 6-1 down the stretch, and we're talking about Jalen Hurts going off script, then we're going to go, man, Nick Sirianni trusts Jalen Hurts. What a great relationship between those two. Man, you got to have confidence. Got to have confidence in your quarterback. Yes, Eden.
It seems still just as odd to me, though, as like, I know we're 10-1 if I'm Jalen Hurts. I'm saying to the coach, I know we're 10-1, but this isn't working.
Let's try this.
I mean, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me either. Hey, coach.
Yeah.
I know 10-1 is great and all, but
it's not 11-0.
It could be better.
Yeah, it's 10-1. It's not 11-0.
I just don't know. It doesn't add up.
I would like to call my own number if I could, please. Hey, I don't want to be known as a game manager.
Coach, you got us this far, okay? I'll handle it from here. Thank you. I don't know.
1-6 down the stretch. Yes, Paul.
Marvin was saying Super Bowl or bust. The Lions, I went back, it was the other day, they had the NFC title game on, Niners-Lions, and you're watching it. It was the start of the third quarter, and the Lions are up 24-7. They're cruising up and down the field, throwing short passes, and I'm sitting there watching it back going, so this team is not going to go to the Super Bowl in the next hour. It was fascinating. They gave it 5 straight scores after that 4th-and-1 stuff where they didn't kick it. We don't have to rehash it, but that team was going to the Super Bowl. Their fans were probably Googling flights midway through the third quarter. I know they have a window. They've added talent, but that's a fascinating team this year if they regress.
And I get this weird feeling they're going to a little bit. Somebody's going to come out of nowhere, but I don't know who that team is going to be. It's going to be one of those where you go, oh, I should have seen this. That is usually the case. Like Green Bay, I thought Green Bay was going to be better earlier than they were, and then all of a sudden I'm like, maybe it's not this year. Then all of a sudden, here they came. And then all of a sudden they go into Dallas. Then all of a sudden they're up, 27-0, and you go, oh, my God. We didn't see this, and, they go toe-to-toe. But you also have, the 49ers. They're there. They should be there. But with Detroit, I don't know. It feels like those expectations are so low. Like, we got to get to the conference title game. We got to be playing in the conference title game again. It's tough. Tough. First place schedule, that's why, the NFL loves parity. That's why you have teams, 2 or 3 teams every year that go, we're going to make that really big leap here, like Green Bay did. Detroit has. San Francisco's been there. But, that's the true greatness is when Kansas City has a first place schedule and they're still there every single year, no matter what. And I don't know, it feels that way again. Like, who's going against Kansas City in the AFC this year? Is anybody, are you all in on that? The Texans feel like the Green Bay Packers, where you're like, man, I didn't see that. And then all of a sudden you saw that and you're like, man, that quarterback's really good. But are you ready for prime time? Because now it's different. Instead of playing 1 o'clock games, now you're playing the 4:30 big window on Fox or Sunday night. Now all of a sudden, hey, everybody wants to talk to you. Now all of a sudden you got to explain things. Now everything is under a microscope. Got to be ready. When you're playing a 1 o'clock game and all of a sudden you're winning, we're going, all right. Oh, wow, Texans. Oh, that's nice. They got some offense there. Oh, C.J. Stroud. That's nice. It's like the difference between having a nice puppy, a cute puppy, or that dog that's going to protect you. Oh, look at this little guy. So he's cute. Come here. Come here. And then you have the that's different. That's the team that's got to be there. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at this little cute little puppy called the Lions. Just a little puppy. Yeah, it's cute. Come here.